Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 22 of season 2 of Gunners and Blues. My name is Sean Morgan. I am joined by Andrew Gump. This is our Chelsea-centric episode for the beginning of the week. Andrew, how are things going for you today, man?
Pretty great. Pretty great. It's pretty good to be a Chelsea fan. Got Zenit coming up tomorrow. Midweek games, you don't have to worry about that. Yeah, what can you say? We're top of the league, which is this looks pretty entertaining, right? This season looks like it's going to be legitimately interesting at the top of the table. Not just one team 15 points ahead by, like the last 6 games. No one
No,
gives a
it,
shit anymore.
it is surprisingly competitive. I did read a few articles and get some thoughts on it. By the way, I just changed my light scheme to blue just to.
Oh.
I meant to have it red for the last episode, but it slipped my mind. And then whenever I was like, it's a Chelsea centric episode, I'm like, oh crap, everything's very, I forgot to change the colors. It's very white in here. So I need to go through and adjust everything. So, but no, I do agree. I think that it's weird, right? I even think without Ronaldo, United would still be kind of in the heat of things, and it just adds another layer because now there's a player who is a proven, goal scorer at times where goals can sometimes be, especially in the United's case, there are matches where they'll go and they'll have these strange droughts where they'll put 25 plus shots out and maybe only like 4 or 5 of them are on target, and they're not really finding the back of the net, and they're just having to take shots in awkward places. And Ronaldo is he's who he is for a reason. And Liverpool's healthy, right? Liverpool's healthy. And I don't know what City's doing aside from, slapping people and then turning around and, wondering what's like. Suddenly Pep decides, I want to play with, 10 center backs because we're going to just move everything around. He just does weird shit. So,
It's all the geese watching. The flying V.
Ducks fly together.
Uh,
No, it is exciting.
Yeah.
I almost want to go back and look and see what our because we did our season preview, like our
Yeah.
for where we thought where we thought teams were going to finish,
Mhm.
and I have mine. I thought I wrote down some of yours. Where did you end up having United finish? I was curious on that.
Second. I had them close second.
That looks a lot better. I had them at fourth, and I think that
Yeah.
yours looks a lot better now in hindsight. But keep in mind, those were our two early predictions. We was before the
Yeah.
window closed.
And I vastly overestimated Leicester, I think. So I had them as fourth and Liverpool at fifth.
Yeah,
I still think Liverpool are like an injury away from looking like a shit team, but we'll see how that goes. Depending, right? It all
That's true.
depends.
Well,
Can
let's.
you imagine them without Alexander Arnold?
Uh,
These opening weeks.
Yeah,
I don't know.
they're like, heck, I can just imagine them without Salah. I think Salah bails
Oh
them out
God, yeah.
like so much, and
Mhm.
you're seeing a little bit of a return to form from Sané, but not really enough, I think, to to be
Mane.
able to account Mane, sorry, to Sadio Mane to be able to account for that.
Mhm.
But I just, and Firmino's always just who he is.
Yeah.
There, to me, it's a matter of if they lose a consistent goal outlet.
Mhm.
I don't think that Mane is going to be able to pick up, and I think Firmino is just still who he is. Salah to me is the one injury that could, at the wrong time. It doesn't even have to be a brutal one, right? We don't need somebody coming out and like scissor kicking and breaking his leg.
You pick for
I know. It seems to be like that they're just destined to at least have one brutal leg injury a season. That was a terrible
that
challenge.
was rough.
That was a
Did you? I didn't think it was a terrible challenge. I mean, even Harvey Elliott didn't think it was a terrible challenge.
it was
And actually, that pissed me off that was a red card. I was actually upset about it. Just not because like it's obviously a terrible thing for Harvey Elliott. Really is. You hate to see it happen to a young player when they're getting their chance, but I'm not one of those like old school. Oh, this should have been. I don't think it's a red card. I legitimately don't think it's a red card, and it kind of ruins the game from that standpoint. But
I mean,
people's health.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's tough to call because for me, like watching the replay, I don't know, maybe if you can find something and show that's a little bit of a better angle. I tried to find a couple of like mirrors of it, and most of them were still at that zoomed out angle where it was hard to see. But kind of coming in from the back like that, I think that you lack a little bit of control because it's much harder to predict a player's movement that you're tackling. Whereas when they see you, they're usually able to account for some of it and you can kind of offset it. Whereas if they don't see you and they maneuver in a specific way, suddenly that takes a challenge that could have been very legitimate and turns it into something that ends up being very, very ugly. And that's kind of sort of what we saw, where, the challenge, like from that far away, looked like it was going to be good. And he looked like he got practically all ball. But then, you look and see kind of how his other leg kind of tucked in, and then you realize this didn't go the way that he thought at all. It's one of those things where it feels reckless, and ultimately the result ended up being very, very bad for the player, for both players.
Yeah.
But it's just hard to be objective about it, I think. I get the red card frustration. I do.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there. Let's
this
just
isn't Chelsea.
Yeah.
I'm talking about Chelsea, but let's go to the win at the Bridge. It's not often that I watch a match and we win 3-0, and I'm like, did we play well? Not really, right? There were some very good individual performances. I think the back three under Tuchel, basically any back three we put out there has been solid, and they were incredible again today. Mendy probably had... Mendy, I want to give you a quick stat for Mendy. He's faced 16 shots, and he saved all 16 this season, right? The only goal that we allowed was a penalty. And this is the one that actually blew my mind. I was looking at. He has now more clean sheets than goals conceded in 60 games at Chelsea. The 60 games he's played for Chelsea. 36 clean sheets and only 34 goals conceded. And 5 of them were conceded to West Brom in one game. Like, if you think about it, for me, watching that performance from Mendy was such a reminder of Czech. Not the Arsenal Czech, the Chelsea Czech. Just a reminder.
You mean the Arsenal Czech got the got the record, so I don't know what you're talking about, but no, keep going.
No, it was a performance that I don't feel like we draw that probably last season. I honestly feel like we draw that, especially under Lampard at the beginning of last season. Not to throw shade at Lampard, obviously. But let's get into a little more the nitty-gritty of the game. So for me, I predicted Saul would start. That was basically the only prediction I got right as far as my starting lineups. I did get that Alonso keeps, like I said, he keeps his place for me. That's one of those things. As long as a player has been given the chance and performs admirably, he stays in. And he was great again. So we'll start. Did not have the debut that I think he was hoping for. It very much looked like a player moving from La Liga to the Premier League that I guess hadn't experienced that sort of intensity before. Just, I definitely used some expletives during the during the game. I'm not upset with Saul, but it is very difficult to watch when your central midfielder has just about as many passes placed directly to a Villa player as he does to his own teammates. Yeah, what did you think of Sal's performance? It was pretty rough.
It's tough because I think that anytime you are a player new to the team, there is a certain level of inherent camaraderie that's already been established and expectations in regards to pitch positioning, and especially in transitional play, that simply isn't there yet. Because you haven't really had a chance to train for it. But sometimes that's not even really a thing that you train for externally. It's something that simply comes from like in-game experience. And so when you don't have that, especially as a key component in the midfield, I think that's probably one of the hardest positions or hardest spots on the pitch to come in as a player new to a squad. I feel like, as a defender, sometimes it's easy just to slot right in. I mean, the expectations are there, but you simply need to not concede. Make sure you don't make a mistake. If you're an attacking player, it's, hey, find the back of the net. But in the midfield, you're in such a key role to transition play that those errors just get magnified to a greater extent. I really feel like it wasn't necessarily a matter of him having poor quality. I think it's just a matter of that integration. Now, if we see a string of performances like this, which honestly I don't think we will, because one, I think he's a good player, and two, I don't think Tuchel would stand for it. I think there would be, you have enough, you're in enough competitions to where he's at least going to get minutes, but I think you wouldn't be able to see him string too much together. That would be considered a run of bad form. But it would be cause for concern if it doesn't seem like he's integrating the way that you would like.
I mean, there's been, there's always a knee-jerk reaction, especially if you look at any of the social media. But like I said, I think he'll come good. It was a difficult time. I mean, we won 3-0, so not like, oh, this was the worst debut of all time. We still win. But, it did help that he was, playing next to my man of the match. Kovacic was just on another level. This season, he's actually added that level to his game. The through balls, the runs forward, scored a goal. Like, things that we did not see from him or even really expect to see from him last season. And watching him grow, maybe it's, it's the luck of the eight. He's channeling his inner Lampard. I don't know. It was great to see Kovacic have such a great game. Like I said, the back three were immense, incredible. Chalobah, I love seeing him come out there and just kind of slot in pretty seamlessly. Thiago Silva, how good is Thiago Silva, by the way? My man is nearly 37, like a week away, a couple days from being 37 years old. And he goes out there and is consistently one of the best defenders in the league, in my opinion, especially in that particular role. That block he made, last man block, that saves the game for us in many situations, as well as Villa were playing. Rudiger. I don't know if anyone watched the game. That shot from Rudiger may be one of the most hilarious things I've seen. That sweet. That would have been the greatest field goal. I mean, that was almost from the halfway line.
He missed his calling, right? He missed his calling.
He missed his calling. Kane said he wanted to be like a place kicker in the NFL after he was done with the Premier League. Listen, Rudiger's all set to go, man. Yeah. He's already practicing. But was immense in every other aspect. Alonso, great. I thought Cal Hudson-Odoi actually had a quietly very good game. He's not a Reece James, but he does very well. And he did very well getting forward. I think he was actually hamstrung by two really poor performances two below average performances from both Hakim Ziyech and Kai Havertz. You watched both. I imagine you watched some of the game at least. Yeah. What did you think of Ziyech and Havertz?
For me, Havertz was more of a, I think, it was maybe a little bit of I don't want to say a mismatch, but for me, it was more a matter of, I don't know if this was the right match for him. I am now starting to have big questions about whether or not Ziyech is ever going to properly fit in with this lineup. For every moment that he has where he has a good game, has a big game, has an impactful performance, there's almost at least 2 or 3 where he is middling at best. And you guys have a deep enough squad, especially in this position, to where, I don't know if he sees regular game time in higher profile matches. And I think, maybe if Villa's situation was a little bit better, and you guys didn't have, like this particular, like having Europe midweek, maybe, just maybe, he possibly wouldn't have started this. He was definitely one of the poorer. Saul was, obviously the worst on the pitch, but Ziyech was a very, very close second. And I think it's more because what we've seen, Saul's is excusable. His is excusable. At this point, I don't feel like Ziyech is. I don't feel like he's adapted to the Premier League very well. Do you? I mean, I wanted to ask you about.
I tend not to agree per se. I think the problem is he just doesn't get the run, right? He doesn't, because he gets injured, right? He was actually playing quite well going into this season. He is still, and the reason I say that he will always see time at Chelsea, and I actually don't think we have any player that kind of fits his profile, is he is so useful, and you saw us in our in European competitions, in competitions where there usually is just not even necessarily more time on the ball, but the officials are obviously they're more likely to call fouls for little niggling touches, so on and so forth, which behooves him because he's not a big guy, right? He
No,
is very, very slight.
yeah,
He's very slight.
he's a fragile man. Um,
Yeah,
but I just I guess so. And I mean, I didn't watch as much of your guys' European run last season,
yeah.
and so I think that could also factor in just a little bit. But I mean, ultimately, Europe is Europe, and the Premier League is the Premier League. So it's a matter of where does he how many games does he actually start in the league, and how many minutes ultimately does he get? I think out of all of your wingers, I value him in league play the least, and it's weird for me because I think that matches like this have kind of become the norm. And I just read something that it could have been like injury related, where he's still trying to ramp up and recover. And if that's the case, that's the case. That is a understandable reason, not always a justifiable one. In that you should be able to, if you're playing, then you should have enough confidence to, I don't say overcome your injury because that's not really what I mean, but if it's something that's bad enough, then you shouldn't be on the pitch. So I feel, and he's also perpetually in this state, and
it's difficult. No, I really agree with you. I mean, honestly, he's kind of in the Pulisic position, and that something that people kind of misunderstand me about Pulisic. I view footballers as equally important. Your ability is equally important to your availability. It really is. If you really want to think about it, if you think about all of the best players at best squads, most of their first 11 is available for a large portion of the season. This idea of chopping and changing, and you get a run of 2 or 3 good games with Ziyech or with Pulisic, and then they're injured. And then you have to reintegrate them into it because they're the types of players that really have to get a feel for the game again. It's very difficult, and this is the problem with both of them, in my opinion. It's that their availability has been so poor that they're never going to see. Like we're winning, everything at the point in time. We don't want to change too much just because we could possibly unlock you 4 games down the road. I don't want to go. Like I said, we're hopping a little bit too much.
Well, no, I think it's a good point, though. I think it's a good point because I look at Ziyech as a player that I think ultimately his Chelsea tenure is going to look at as a missed opportunity, and I think at least compared to some of the other transfers during that window, because I feel like I know the spotlight's on like Timo Werner, but I feel like the spotlight's perpetually on him for the wrong reasons, and I don't feel as though he is really he played a very crucial part, I think, in a lot of the success that you had, more so than Ziyech. But
I mean, he had more goal involvement than anyone in the team. The hate boner for Timo Werner, I'm pretty basic. It's because he's not stylish, right? There's nothing stylish about Timo Werner. He is kind of the epitome of, as Americans, you're trained to think of a German person, right? He's efficient. He's not a bad nature or anything. He's efficient. He just, he's clean cut. That's just what he does. That's just what he is.
Does his thing.
He just does his thing. Yeah. But I want to hit on our number one. By the way, I gotta get my love in for Lukaku.
Okay,
before we go on to anything. What a difference it is just to have a player that puts the ball in the back of the net, right? What a difference it is to be a team that outperforms their expected goals in a game. For Christ's sake, it feels good. Right? It feels immense. Romelu Lukaku, 2 shots the whole game, both end up in the back of the net. Not just 2 shots on target, literally 2 shots the whole game, both in the back of the net. Absolutely love it.
And you thought the Germans were efficient.
Yeah, and I swear to God, I almost had a heart attack. This man, after he scores his first goal, he goes for the knee slide. And if anyone remember, a longtime follower of Chelsea, Hazard actually injured himself knee sliding after a celebration and decided he would never do it again. And Lukaku got about like a yard into his knee slide and then just kind of awkwardly fell over. I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. He injured himself knee sliding. I could have conniptions. But no, it was, God, it felt good. Just watching him stick the ball in the back of the net. You know how long it's been? I mean, it's been since Costa, since we've had a player that scores goals like that, where it's a quarter chance, right? It's a XG .25 or something like that. And you just kind of feel like it's going to go. It's going to go. And watching him absolutely sit Mings on his, we've been non-expletive. We've been family friendly.
No, we're on his, for this episode at least.
On his booty. Sit Mings on his booty as he just slid past just felt great because I do not like Mings. I think he's not a good person. I don't like him as a defender either. But yeah, it felt great overall.
I need him to slow down. I need him to slow down for the sake of our bet.
You better get those dulcet tones ready. We're gonna hear that mellifluous voice sooner rather than later. You can sing the frogs. Sing the frog shot.
Maybe not. Maybe that's for some midweek madness. No. So I did want to ask you one thing. And then we'll go ahead and go to break. And then after break, we'll talk about the Champions League match. So you kind of hinted at it a little bit. Once again, no sighting of Ben Chilwell. So for me, I start to question. That was a decently high-profile transfer, and you paid a decent amount of money to get him into the club. At what point do you look at, when does he start playing in the league? Or are we going to see him used almost exclusively, basically he's the second team. He is not looked at the same way as he was last season. Has that happened in your eyes, or do you think that this is just a matter of form and that you start to see a transition? If so, when?
No, I'm really glad you brought it up. I actually wanted to put it in the next segment, but
Oh, okay. Well, hang on. Here, sit on it. We're going to take a break.
Let's sit on it. Yeah.
Take a break. When we come back, we'll answer that very question.
This is raw and unfiltered, guys. Yeah. Raw and unfiltered. We don't plan anything.
Never plan it. All right. Sit tight. We'll be right back. All right, everybody. Welcome back. So that question that I asked you about good old Ben Denny drink Chilwell water. What do we think? Is he cast aside for good? Probably not. But how long is he? What's the situation with him in your eyes?
Well, first and foremost, it was pretty cool. I enjoy having a very transparent manager. It just makes me feel better. Not some cromulent little coach that thinks he's Pep Jr. But anyway, so I had to use more hair. He does have a lot more hair. But anyway. He talked about Chilwell, and apparently Chilwell, and it's just something that we've talked about slightly on this one, Chilwell's kind of having some mental issues, like going to the Euros, seeing them make that great run to the final and not being used a single minute, in games where he definitely could have been used, actually took a mental toll on him. And Thomas Tuchel spoke about that in the press conference today. And he also said, listen, Alonso has 5 weeks of preseason. He was there from day one. Alonso had an option not to, but Alonso showed up from day one in the preseason and was there he had 5 weeks of training as league. Because remember, you're not training a whole lot when you're with a team at the Euros because it's basically about recovery at that point in time.
Yeah.
You play your game, it's so, Alonso was just in better shape to start. And, also Chilwell coming in, maybe his head was turned. It's awesome to be around.
Mm-hmm.
All that great feeling, but if you think you're a good player, and he is a good player, he's a Champions League winner for Christ's sake, and you don't even get a sniff, right? Really, it never even seemed like Gareth Southgate.
He wasn't even an afterthought. He wasn't even a thought.
Yeah, he wasn't even a thought. It was hard, and I appreciate Tuchel being so open about it. And that kind of leads into this preview to the game. I do think Chilwell gets the start here against Zenit St. Petersburg. now is the time. I mean, Chilwell is obviously the future of that under Tuchel. Alonso is no spring chicken. He's definitely,
He's
definitely.
almost of the age to transfer to Arsenal.
Wait a minute. I would not like that. It would hurt me. No, he's got better taste than that. Anyway, God, you got me off my chain of thought for a second. I think he gets his. I think Chilwell gets his first start of the season here. It's a very good time for him to get that start. It's a little less taxing physically. And let's be honest, the Russian clubs in the Champions League in the last like 5, 6 years have been just dire.
Yeah,
Not even bad, just
not even.
dire.
Yeah, it's not even a matter of being competitive.
Yeah.
They just look. It looks like there's just a mismatch, and sometimes even that. Sometimes it's just even a lack of effort.
Yeah. And then this is going to be the big call here. I do think we actually see Kepa get the start. I do think we see Kepa get the start. You want to keep your keeper happy. You want to really enjoy. I mean, really enjoy that good feeling we got from the Super Cup, right? Saving those penalties. It almost feels like it feels like such a long time ago with international break and the 3 games and the 4 games of the season. Kepa was clutch. Kepa was clutch for us, and I want to see him get the start here. I do think we're going to see a lot of rotation. All of our players are internationals. They don't really get any break at any point in time. It seems right with so many English players, Italian players. So I do think we see Reece come back in, obviously after his suspension. Andreas Christensen is going to come back in. By the way, 80 for Andreas Christensen on the FIFA cards is the most nonsensical sack of shit rating I have ever seen. There you go. There's the expletive right out of the way. That irritates the ever-living hell out of me. This kid has kept, in the last 44 games that he's played for club and country, he's kept 36 clean sheets. What the hell do you want from him? And remember that banger at the Euros? And you hit him with an 80. Hit him with an 80. I think Xhaka has a higher card than Christensen.
Keep talking. I'm going to look that up.
Please look it up. Like I said, I try not to pay too much attention to the FIFA ratings. It's ridiculous. So I do think we see Andreas come back in.
He's got an 80.
Yeah, there we go. It's a joke. I'm not gonna get. I do think we see Silva kind of just keep it in, keep starting. I want to see Rudy get a break, right? Rudiger, he's the only player that really fits seamlessly into that left center back spot that we have open right now. I want to see him get a break here. Whether we move Chalobah across, Azpilicueta across, I don't really care. I do think Rudy gets a break. He's a warrior, but also, let's keep the people in the upper tier safe from all of Rudiger's shots, right? Just give him one game break. Just because you're not paying attention all the time in the upper tiers. The way he hits them, you gotta be careful. But anyway, and this is gonna surprise a lot of people. We'll move on to the midfield now. I think we see Saul get another start. Going into a game against a team like Zenit St, there's going to be a lot more time and space.
Oh yeah,
and a lot of athletes. Even when I was an athlete, you want to get the bad performance out of your head by playing again immediately. Immediately. I know you played baseball in high school, and I had the same. Man, when I pitched poorly, oh my God, I just was like, please, I don't care if my arm falls off, pitch me as soon as possible. I don't know why I was doing it. I'm sure you were the similar way. It's just that competitive edge. It makes you feel a little bit better. I do think Saul gets a start, whether he starts next to Kova or Jorginho, as Kante is. He would be fit if we needed to rush him back, but we don't.
That would be a poor call, I think.
I mean, we're saving him for Tottenham. We're saving for Tottenham. So Kovacic or Jorginho could start next to him. I'm not willing to guess anymore because I looked like such a fool with my predictions last week. I'm going to leave it open. And now this is going to the forward. This is a plea to Thomas Tuchel. No more metaphorical blue balls, Thomas Tuchel. Can you please? I said metaphorical, so no one gets any sexual connotations right from the beginning. Could you please start Lukaku and Timo together? Please, please, for me. We saw what happened, right? The movement, and Lukaku went out of his way to talk about how Timo's movement opened up the space for him. I just want to see a front three of Lukaku, Timo, and Mason Mount. I just think it would work so seamlessly together. I need to see this, Thomas. Please. Please don't blue ball me. I've predicted it a couple times now. I just need it. Please.
Is Pulisic healthy yet?
No. Nope, he's still out on crutches. I don't think he'd start anyway. Honestly, with his injuries, with the consistent injuries, he needs to take a page out of Eden Hazard's book. Eden Hazard came to Chelsea, a relatively lean lad. Listen, get on the hamburger hype train. Eden Hazard put on a few lbs, and he was healthy most of the time. No. He put on more. He put on more when he went to Real Madrid. But for us, he put on, I think, maybe 5, 6, 7 pounds, and it just helped a little bit. I mean, he put on some muscle as well with it. I honestly think Pulisic just needs to get on the hamburger hype train. Just put a few lbs on, protect yourself. That it really does help. It really, really does help. Roy Keane. I know this is a little bit off topic. Roy Keane had a great overlap interview with Gary Neville. He talks about, he got into this weird idea of wanting to be like all the European players. So he was eating salads when, he was a meat and potato guy. He's from Ireland, and he got his body fat all the way down to 5.5. He just got injured all the time. Like, at a certain point in time, especially in the Premier League, with them being a lot more lax on the fouls. By the way, I love it. For the most part, I really have enjoyed watching football a lot more this season. VAR is being used pretty well. Them letting the little niggling fouls go, I've really enjoyed. Also, the consternation, the utter bafflement of these players when they're not getting the fouls from last season. Like, what?
But I fell.
I fell so gracefully.
Look, I fell. I tumbled at least once. Look, I'm grabbing the part that hurts. Ow!
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. I really have enjoyed it. But yeah, he needs to put on a few lbs. Like I said, hamburger hype train all the way.
So,
he's from Hershey, Pennsylvania. Why not just shove a few chocolate bars in your mouth?
Take a page from Overeem. Get that horse meat.
Let's not do that. I don't think about any of that. Like I said, I feel like this is a confident win. If I go into Zenit St. Petersburg, the only names you guys are going to remember, I think, if you watch the World Cup run Russia had, Zuba, big guy, has really kind of fallen off a cliff. Dejan Lovren, the most delusional defender in the history of the planet, said he should be in the Ballon d'Or because he was with Liverpool when they made it to the Champions League final. They're an okay team. They've been undefeated the last 5 games, so it's not going to be a walkover, right? It's not going to be they're top of their league. But at the same time, I feel like we have enough quality, even with making plenty of changes, that we win pretty confidently. And I'm predicting a clean sheet this time. I consistently keep giving teams 1 goal, but I'm going to switch it up. Clean sheet, 3-0 win. We're at the bridge. Get it done. Yeah, do you have any insight? Do you think you have your big brain 1-1 draw against Aston Villa? You going to say we're going to draw against St. Petersburg, Sean?
To be absolutely fair, Villa played better than I think they should have, considering their absences. And you guys played much better than I think I expected. I'm actually going to go with a 4-1. I'm not going to give you guys the clean sheet just because I can. But I am going to give you I am going to give you the extra goal, and I think I think you get the extra goal because you don't keep a clean sheet. It's one of those things where when you are playing at the highest caliber, even in the Champions League, when you're going against these teams that aren't expected to compete to break out of group stages, you almost have this idea, this mindset that you need to slap them. You need to go through and use this as an opportunity to build up as much confidence as you can heading into what actually are the tough matchups in the group. Mm-hmm. And so I see these types of games as a way for clubs like Chelsea to put the ball at the back of the net as much as possible, as often as possible, and get that attacking confidence there. It's not as if you guys lack it, though. But I think that there's no such thing as having too much of it.
Mhm.
So I'm thinking of 4-1. It's very comfortable, but maybe the goal is scored at like, one, it ends up being like 1-1 for just the briefest of times. Maybe like 6 minutes. Maybe like 6 minutes, or 2-1 for like 6 minutes. Something where it's just like, what's happening here, and then it's cruise control for the rest. Maybe it's like early. Maybe like
Normal service is resumed. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, maybe like 40th minute, and you're just like before half, and it's like, fuck this.
Oh, I hate that. Don't do that, Sean. Come on. I hate any it's 40 and then they score because it's one of those things. No, get back out there and play. I don't want this 1-1 in my face. No, I get you. I think it's like I said, pretty solid win, and that's kind of it, right? Not too much going on. I refuse to get drawn into this Twitter beef that people are pissed off that we bought Mason Mount a banner and put it in our. Why on earth people are upset about that?
People will look for reasons to get upset about anything.
They're all from one country as well. They are all from one country that thinks he's taking Pulisic's time. But I don't want to get, like I said, not get drawn into it. Refuse to get drawn into it. Already irritates me just being aware that it's there. Yeah, that's kind of it.
The best fans. The best fans.
Let's not get into that one either.
Well, on that note, let's go ahead and let's call it
Arsenal Fan TV, Sean. Arsenal Fan TV.
I mean, I haven't watched an episode of Arsenal Fan TV. Unironically, actually, I don't think I've ever watched it unironically, but I haven't even watched it ironically in like a year and a half at least. It's just how are you supposed to like digest any of that content and feel good about it?
Hey, you know what? Ty is a little child in all of us. I still love watching Ty, where legitimately it doesn't matter what happens. It's your club, and they deserve to win. I think it may not be the most insightful, but at least he's like, listen, we're Arsenal Football Club. We should have won. I'm like, what?
I mean, you can't fault the man for being honest to themselves. Like you can't really fault them for if that's the way.
He's genuine. He seems the most genuine person.
If that's the way that they genuinely feel, then, well, by all means. Well, on that note, let's go ahead and call it an episode. Again, I want to thank Particle Dogs. Great intro and outro music. If you're checking us out on a podcast platform, please do us a solid. Give us a rating. Give us a review. Subscribe to us. If you're watching us on YouTube, do the same thing. Subscribe. Like this video. Leave us a comment if you think we did a great job, or if you have an opinion on anything that we talked about today. We will be coming back tomorrow for some midweek madness, which is our off-topic episode of the week. And then we will resume talking about footy on Thursday with our Arsenal episode, and then Friday with our Chelsea-centric episode, talking about the upcoming match for the weekend, as well as what happened in Champions League throughout the week. So any final thoughts before we call it a day?
No, I'm excited, right? I'm excited. We're both going into this this week with excitement for once. It's not just me feeling great and you feeling like...
No. I'm cautiously optimistic. I got to be realistic. My optimism has been, slapped a little too much over the last couple of years for me to be anything else.
Oh, actually, thank you for reminding me. I do want a quick shout out, not Chelsea related particularly, very lightly. Quick shout out to Jose Mourinho winning his 1000th game with Roma.
Yeah.
That was a fantastic fucking game. Yeah, we already got the expletive in. That was a fantastic fucking game. Love seeing him run down the touchline. I remember one Arsene Weger's 1000th game when he lost 6-0. That was hilarious to see Jose Mourinho get that 92nd minute winner. 3 wins on the bounce for Roma. Tammy Abraham loving life there. It's pretty cool. The Chelsea connection. I've watched a lot more Serie A because there's so much of a Chelsea connection. We've got Ampadu at Venezia. We have Tomori. Some ex-players, but I love it, right? I really do love it. Anyone has a chance to watch some Serie A, I definitely recommend it. I think they're putting all their matches on YouTube, so very cool to fall asleep to as well, right? I love falling asleep to like sporting events, so I dig it. Anyway,
And I mean, and to be fair, Juventus get some Arsenal-esque struggles.
watching Juventus struggle is probably one of the, especially as they're still holding out that the Super League is going to happen. By the way, just listening to the nonsense they pull, God, they're still like, well, we're gonna have it. And it's pretty hilarious because all the other teams are like, oh no, we're not getting involved. So it's gonna be a 3-team Super League. It's gonna be a 3-team
It's
Super
the
League.
superest of super leagues.
Yeah.
Well, no. Well, on that note, we are calling it. On behalf of Andrew, my name is Sean. We are Gunners and Blues. We are signing out. Have a good one, everybody.
See you guys.